With you, Ms. Cotton, why don't you tell me how you two got together in the first place?
I say it was February in 2011. I was living in these apartments, and he was living across the street with one of his kids' mother. Even though he didn't tell me that at the time.
Well, who did he say she was?
I never seen her.
Oh, okay.
She's seen her.
Keep going.
I
keep
never
going.
seen her at that time.
Keep going.
But I used to walk my daughter to the school, to the bus stop, and he'll see me. He'll make little jokes, because that's what he do. He makes up jokes just to keep everybody laughing. So we ended up changing numbers, and he came to my house, and we got to talking. He was talking about his ex and how they was about to get married, because that's what he tells all his women, that he's going to marry them. So he seen I didn't have a vacuum cleaner, and he brought a vacuum cleaner over, and he did my eyebrows, and he got to talking. And
he did your eyebrows?
Yeah, because...
That's a whole new move, Mr. Smith.
You know, but if that all it takes to get somebody to do somebody's eyebrows?
No.
I mean, man,
it's
vacuum cleaner and eyebrows is like, damn, that's all you got to do?
Now, how long did you know him before you married him?
Well, it's been like, what, a year and a half?
Before you married him?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead, tell me what...
So around that time, we end up, having sexual intercourse, and I end up getting pregnant.
Did he have any children with other women?
Yeah, he was bringing them over to my house. I used to watch his kids while he cut hair.
Well, how many kids did he bring over to your house while you were dating him?
I say about 8.
8? 8?
It was probably more than that, Your Honor. I keep my kids with me. I love
now he's lying.
Wait, hang on, Mr. Smith. Well, how many children do you have?
Your Honor, I got 12 sons, and I got... Hold on. I got 12 sons, and I have 15 daughters. I have 27 altogether. Yep. She knew, I don't hide nothing from nobody that I get involved with.
How do you keep them straight, Mr. Smith? How do you keep them straight?
Well, I brought evidence. I got a little something, a little family
chart.
tree, a little chart.
Do we have that? Oh, we do.
Oh, okay.
We've got it on the screen.
Same
now,
thing you got.
Now, so we got the tree here.
Correct.
And we got Nate at the bottom, because you created all of it.
That's me.
Okay. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
And that's it right there. That's it.
So you have 4 women that have more than one child with
that's
you.
It.
If we get to counting, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 babies' mothers?
Kids' mothers, yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Cotton, if you knew we had these many children while you were dating, what made you think good husband material?
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
To be honest, I feel that I was young at the time, and I believe that he preys on young women. I'm not saying he's not a horrible man, but...
when you say he preys on young women, what do you mean?
I was 20 years old. He told me everything I wanted to hear. He's seen that I was a single mother. I have a 6-year-old that has cerebral palsy. He's seen that I was struggling. I mean, I just believe that he does. Most of his kids' mothers are young, and...
Let me ask you this. Do you have any children that are the same age amongst all of these women?
Definitely. I had a spurt where, Your Honor.
How many children do you have right now that are the same age?
5.
I have 5 kids that are the same age.
Correct.
So you had a good year.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can say that in,
No. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. Because there wasn't a blood card available to test the DNA of the deceased Keyshawn Abraham, we performed what is called a DNA test with his surviving parents, Carolyn Baker and Lamond Abraham. With that being said, the results determined if there is a viable relationship between the child, Kenaya Abraham, and Ms. Baker and Mr. Abraham. In the case of Coates, Hooker versus Baker, when it comes to 11-month-old Kenaya Abraham. It has been determined by this court the percentage of relatedness between Ms. Baker, Mr. Abraham, and Kenaya Abraham is 0%.
And this is why right here.
Ms. Baker, are you all right? Do you need to sit down? Do you need to sit down, ma'am?
I didn't tell them. They weren't gonna tell me sorry, so I'm not telling them nothing.
Do you need to sit down, ma'am?
Nobody did anything to you, honey.
I don't care. Miss
Nobody
Fuller do nothing to me, but I don't like you.
That's
I don't like you.
sweetie. It's
I don't like you.
fine.
Okay, I don't care.
It's
There's nothing.
okay.
Stop talking to me then.
Nobody did anything
Stop
to
talking
you.
Ms. Hooker,
Okay.
just stop.
Stop it! Stop, please! Just stop!
Okay, come on, let's go.
You do owe my
Let's
mom an
go.
apology, though. That's when you owe one.
No, excuse me.
Because you know you slept with somebody else.
Ms.
and this is
Hooker.
what-
Girl,
Ms.
better stop talking
Hooker.
about
No.
Hey, go in there. Go in there. Go in there. You do too much. I don't care because you always think you can.
You have to do whatever you're comfortable with. But you're not going to get it the way it ought to be. You can get it to a level where it's functional. That is, when I say get what the way it ought to be. Get any relationship the way it ought to be, particularly this thing called quote-unquote marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, etc., care mate, which is what the code calls it. You can choose a care mate, a mate that cares for you, and you care for her, according to the code. But do not, under any circumstance, ever expect it to be the way that it should be. You can only get it to a functional level. Why? The white supremacists are not going to allow any non-white person to be in a so-called relationship with another non-white person that is the way it ought to be. That's why white supremacy needs to be eliminated and replaced with a system of justice. They don't allow that. If they allowed that, that would be a huge reason not to even get rid of racism. I mean, why get rid of something that's not giving you a problem? But the racists make sure that all so-called relationships between non-white people are going to be a problem between non-white people. They're not going to be able to get along under this system. That's not happening. Even when we think it's happening, it's not happening. Now, what do I mean by get along? I mean according to the criteria, the way it should be, with people who are in the universe, people who are completely in tune with everything that is constructed in the known universe. And you cannot have a constructive relationship between a black male, for instance, and a black female in a non-constructive society. And the system of white supremacy makes everything non-constructive when it comes to non-white people. So we can reach a level of acceptability, which is what we all do. Everybody's required to do that. But look at it like what it is, a prison system. You can't make a prison system the way it ought to be other than not have a prison system, an illegitimate prison system. And the system of white supremacy is an illegitimate prison system. So if you're born in that system, everything in it is tainted.
During the existence of white supremacy, the most powerful laws of marriage are dominated by racist man and racist woman. Since the non-white people of the known universe are subject to racist man and racist woman, the marriages between non-white people to each other, or between non-white people and white people, are functionally political support arrangements that are directly or indirectly used to serve the system of white supremacy in all areas of activity. Marriages between white people are for the purpose of practicing white supremacy. So-called marriages between non-white people have the effect of helping non-white people to help white people to practice white supremacy. Within the system of white supremacy, all of the affection, caring, commitment, devotion, and romance that is said to be associated with marriage is for non-white males and females a so-called union that is controlled by racist man and racist woman. The system of white supremacy is deliberately designed to dominate and mistreat people through the strict control of thought, speech, and action based on factors of color and non-color. It is a poisonous system. It makes all people poisonous in the ways that they interact with each other. It makes each person a carrier of poisonous thoughts. So we all messed up, and it's expected for us to be dysfunctional. We've been talking about this. Marriage is a mutual and harmonious relationship between males and females who also function as men and women. So he's going somewhere with this. During the existence of white supremacy, non-white males and non-white females are not permitted to function as men and women. They are only permitted to function as race children, persons who are subject to white supremacy. Children cannot be married. They can only be mated. Men and women can be married. Therefore, during the existence of white supremacy, only white people can function as married people and only to each other. Non-white people, while subject to white supremacy, should at all times expect their so-called marriages to take all of their so-called relationships, or excuse me, let me read that again. Non-white people subject to white supremacy should at all times expect their so-called marriages to be like all of their other so-called relationships, flawed. Once again, like you said, if the system is poisonous, everything that come out of it will have poison in it, so it will not be functional. Flawed, sometimes seriously flawed. The sweet followed by the bitter, followed by the sweet, followed by more bitter that is sometimes sweetly bitter. Any so-called marriage situation that involves non-white people can be correctly regarded as artificial, messy, non-logical, phony, pretended, unpredictable, unreliable, unstable, and or in truth, non-existent. Because of the current existence, we exist under the system of white supremacy. They defeated us a long time ago, and they still are continuing to maintain their dominance over us. So the way we interact with each other, because we can look at it we can look at the quality of marriage, the stats on the quality of marriage, stats on marriage rates. Over the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years, since 1965, we know since 1960, 1965, marriages have just degraded within our community. It's just gotten worse. Relationships have just gotten worse. Everything has gotten worse. But this is all by design. The system wasn't designed to create an environment for us to thrive, an environment for us to grow. So therefore, we have to be able to create these own environments for ourselves, even though we are still behind enemy lines. We have to be able to create these own environments for ourselves, but we have to reconstruct how we even exist with each other. But happy Monday and welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and I am continuing my reading of Neely Fuller's landmark pioneering book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a counter-racist code, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and/or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. And I am finishing up my reading of Area 8, which is sex, in Neely Fuller's book. And I'm read from pages 336 to pages 357. So that's what we're reading. I started on 336 under marriage and mutual arrangement. So now I'm going to pick up on as long as white supremacy is the dominant socio-material force among the people of the known universe. So that's what I'm gonna pick up. But welcome back. I want to make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you hit that like button. Please hit that like button to help that algorithm. If you haven't subscribe already, hit that notification bell so you can get these notifications. Make sure you're sharing. Make sure you're giving constructive comments. It's okay to disagree, but disagree constructively. It's okay. Look, we're not going to agree on everything. We just not. I don't agree with everything in this book. We're not going to agree on everything. That's cool. But we still have to be able to function together. We still have to be able to work together. We still have to be able to build together. Hey, man, it's all good. We're not going to agree on everything, right? That's how relationships work. We have to relearn how to be functional in relationships, how to have healthy relationships. We have to learn how to be able to be around each other and be constructive. These are things we're having to relearn because of the degradation of our community and our societies and just the way we live as Black people living under the system of white supremacy. So let's pick up. As long as white supremacy is the dominant socio-material force among the people of the known universe, do not say that any non-white person is married. Instead, use the term attempted marriage or care-mated. And so his explanation is, as long as white supremacy exists, it is risk-prone for any non-white person to attempt to pretend marriage. They should instead devote their time to those activities that will best help to eliminate racism. So even in your relationships, everything that we do should be working to end the system of racism, to produce justice, to create our own, do what we need to do for self. Any persons who must have the direct or indirect approval of the white supremacists in order to engage in sexual intercourse, sexual play, and sexual communication cannot be married. As long as white supremacy exists, no person who is subject to white supremacy can be married. His theory is you can't be married, you can only be mated. We can only be paired, but not married, because we don't assume the positions of men and women. It is correct for victims of racism to help eliminate the illusion of the existence of so-called marriage by refraining from engaging in the so-called legal marriage or recognized marriage. The correct purpose for the so-called legal or recognized marriage is to help arrange a relationship between two or more people in such a manner that they can best help each other produce justice. I'm still wrapping my mind around that one. I'm so on that one. I'm reading what he's saying and I'm taking in what he's saying. So I really don't have a comment on that one just yet, because I'm still processing that one, just to be honest. I don't want to be the person who's sitting over here just giving out, just talking, thinking I'm giving an answer. I'm wasting y'all time. So I'm still wrapping my mind around that one to see what my logical response for that would be. Under the system of white supremacy, no non-white person is correctly qualified or prepared for marriage to anyone in any place at any time. He or she cannot guarantee the protection, assistance, and or material comfort that is necessary or expected in the conduct of a true or legal marriage. It is false for any person to say or pretend that he or she can be married and at the same time be subject to white supremacy. The falsehood that dominates such interaction helps to promote incorrect thought, speech, and or action in every area of his or her existence. So we cannot properly defend ourselves. We cannot properly overall provide for ourselves because we don't have any ownership of any true industries or true corporations or any true aspects of life that really help us to exist, help us to function on a day-to-day basis, to have the luxuries and the things that we have. We don't have control of these things. So since we don't have control of these things, we can best control what we can within our lives. So that means we have to put ourselves in the best position to exist, to be able to take care of ourselves, our mates, and our offsprings. If you're not in a position to take care of yourself, your mate, and your offspring, you shouldn't be mating. But that's a step to being able to control larger corporations, larger industries, larger infrastructures, to be able to have real control over our lives. We got to remember, if we're not controlling if we don't have control over like every aspect of our life, like every aspect, down to the infrastructure, down to being able to own and control the infrastructure that controls the cities and the areas that we live in. If we don't have control over that, like, let's stop thinking about it on surface level. Let's think about it in totality. Like, what does it truly take to run and operate a society? Start thinking like that. What does it take to run and operate a society? Not stuff that make you feel good, your luxuries and our comforts in our everyday lives. What does it take to really run a society? And evaluating what it really takes to run a society, how much of that do we actually control? Well, we know the answer. The answer is none of it. And that's the problem. Non-white people who have attempted marriage while subject to white supremacy have become devoted to a belief in a power and security for themselves that does not exist. By believing this, they then proceed to become more involved in and more devoted to maintaining the status quo. To maintain the status quo, however, is to functionally maintain white supremacy. These so-called marriages become little more than time and energy consuming exercises in avoiding the duty of promoting the elimination of racism and white supremacy. To avoid participation in any race-dominated so-called marriage is one of the easiest and most effective means by which these non-white people who are dedicated to elimination of racism can better do so. So, well, what we doing ain't working. Ain't no way, ain't even trying to sound intelligent about it. Just be real. What we are doing, what we're currently doing ain't working. The current way that we're existing, the current way that we're relating with each other is not working. It's getting worse and worse and worse by the day. Marriages or so-called marriages. I mean, I'm with Neely Fuller on the marriage thing because I mean, shit, look at it. Look at how it's operating. Look at how it's working. I mean, it's not even real. It doesn't even matter anymore. There's no principle about it. Like, and nothing's being built. We get into these marriages and nothing's built. It's more destruction than building. So why continue to do certain things? We need families. We need Black families. And we need to be able to build and accumulate wealth, money, power, and resources and be able to pass those down. But the current way that we're marrying or engaging or mating with each other ain't working. And also, like he's saying, if you're getting married and being married under the system of white supremacy, because a lot of times when we get married, we get soft. Or we get married, we get more compliant. And we go along and we become more part of the go along, get along game. Because now we have thoughts of survival and surviving and being able to exist and be promoted and excel within the system of white supremacy, within their system, within their companies, within their industries, not within ours. And this is for the most part. This is not everybody. This is not absolute. Shout out to the Black people who are out there being constructive and working to end the system of white supremacy within their relationships. Shout out to you. We need more like you. But for the majority of us, it ain't like that. All right. But that's what we're working toward.